So we're having fun opening all our letters. From Grandma, from Auntie Miriam. We're getting mail from Australia.
Mommy.
There's kittens, butterflies, Jesus, Mary. What was that one, Mussy? Oh, what does that one say?
The child in the
Manger.
teaches you to say to God at all times.
Ah.
My Father, I trust you.
My Father, I trust you. That's right. Beautiful.
Do you remember? It changes everything. I can put it together now. Every time. I think the fear of unknownness. As a child, I think your primary carer should have been there. When that gets taken away, it changes everything. My mom's passing was quite unexpected. So it was, for myself, it's quite shocking how it happened and how quickly it happened. At the age of 9, I was assumed to take the role of motherhood. It's almost like that's what I've been trained for. I didn't even have to think about it when everything happened. Just, assume the role. After my mom passed away, my dad almost, he was never really a present dad in terms of like our early life. So he was also still sick. So I think it was just, he didn't know what to do with everything. I didn't experience him being there for us, but I certainly saw the sadness and disappointment of that event. My dad decided that he was going to go back to the village that we came from to share the news with her family, or our family, her sisters. And he took my youngest 2 sisters, because at the time they didn't have school. And that was the last time I saw him. After my mom passed away, I think we didn't really know what was going to happen, because I knew there was a lot of change coming. I still continued. I actually had exam the next day, so went on with everyday life. In my culture, there's a few days of processing, so I just went on about my day. But I certainly have personally a lot of questions and fear. Yeah. an orphan, that reality hit me straight after my mom died, because she plays such a huge role in looking after us and taking care of us. So within a few weeks, there was this sense of hopelessness and unknownness into the future. But I still had hope that my dad was around for quite a few months before I found out that I was a complete orphan. But I think death, we didn't know or understand what it is. It's just more the reality of somebody not being there that we all had to deal with. I certainly at the time didn't know what was happening, or didn't really have somebody walk it through it with me. So kind of dealt with it as I received information. Day by day, I wasn't aware that my dad passed away until my siblings told me. So just as it comes. After my sisters came back from the village, we started living with a distant uncle. We knew something was happening, but we didn't know where we were going. I had to be the emotional support for my siblings because, like I mentioned earlier, it wasn't a safe environment. So quite often, we wouldn't know what's going to happen. Just had to reassure that something will come up. My parents were from a Christian background, we were Orthodox. My dad was an Orthodox priest, so my faith was, I saw there was a God, and that was practiced in our home. The moment that my mom passed away, there was a massive question mark of who this God was and what kind of God it was. That why would this happen if you're a good God, or if you're all willing, or all those things. So for me, I questioned it the moment that my mom passed away, with that hopelessness that came with. I actually, said that I will never step into a church at age of 9. So it took a while for me, being at the orphanage, just being part of our lifestyle, to keep going to church and comes to term with my relationship with him. Actually took me quite a few years in there to see his restoration and his, it's almost like a daring thing. I said, if you're God, I want to see you do something. I guess the whole idea of giving God a second go or going to church is what I began to see is kids were being adopted into other countries and they were getting a second chance of life. So the moment that I saw that hope and those stories around me, then I was like, maybe that could be my story as well, where I will get, a family and get out of the situation that I was. But it was a very slow process. I do want to emphasize that it was, after a few friends leaving and all those kind of things that I began to believe. The orphanage was a lot of kids, so we had age from a couple of days until age of 16. We were all divided into age and also gender. So my brother was with the boys, my middle sister and myself were together, and my younger sister she was with the babies in a different room. So yeah, we went to school. It was very structured in terms of went to church every day, and we went to school and very structured lifestyle, but certainly like with a lot of kids that are similar situations. It was almost like a policy that they had. They kept all siblings together, no matter how long it took. So for us, being like my sister, I said, like when she came into the orphanage, she was 2. So she would have had a lot more offers and, people wanting to adopt her quite early on. But because the nun that looked after that, she had to keep saying no until we found somebody that can take all of us. And I think that was the best thing that happened to us. It took a while for me to see how it was going to happen, but I don't think I doubted it happened because, again, that was the story that I saw around me. Our adopted parents didn't know anything about us or the orphanage before they came to Ethiopia or the orphanage. So even the way that we crossed into each other's lives is, almost a miracle. Like I wouldn't say it's anything that a person can plan, including the fact that, my mom was born in Ethiopia. She lived there until she was 4. She came back on a 3-month volunteer trip, ended up with, 4 kids. That self speaks of the divine intervention there.
The door?
Going in the front door of my house. 35 years later. It's okay.
Different corridors are
My mother would cook here and look out that door.
Yeah, there is, right.
So Mom, here's your kitchen. Do you cook many meals?
We're very happy. I'm very happy. We've just been to see Dr. Bulti, and he gave us a permission to proceed to go and set a court date, and it was based on the fact that Joy has been born here, lived here in total 5 years or more. And then he quickly referred us to one of his document experts who looked through our documentation, and it seems most things are in order. We have a few little things to do, but we're very, very happy. It means that the kids will be with us very soon, so I'm very happy. Thank you, Jesus, because you pulled this one off. It's your idea. All praise to you, Jesus.
So what have you got there, guys? Who gave it to you? Oh, is it very nice?
Yeah.
You're eating shankora from Siri. Once again, all praise to God that He's done this so far, and we are just so grateful.
The Lord didn't say when you had to live there. She was able to start the process straight away, and the process took about 15 months by the time they started. They only told us, though, about 9 months into it. They were starting to come to the orphanage and volunteer. So we got to know them that way. They were just random volunteers, and they couldn't quite tell us. They couldn't treat us differently or anything like that, but they were around. And one day it was bang bang, we're your parents. When our parents told us, we actually lived in Ethiopia with them for 6 months. So they've adopted us internally, and then we have to wait for visas for Australia. So we lived together outside of the orphanage. So after that, I think on my mum's birthday, the visa came.
Trying to get some things for you, 3 plus for Mussy. And there were 2 big things. One, the first one we got was 4 genuine Ethiopian passports.
Oh, Magda's passport.
Each of you. Wow. And
Meseret.
And Meseret.
oh wow! All have your own passports. Don't you look beautiful in your pictures? There's nothing written on any of the other pages, just this front one. Oh, how lovely! Show me yours. Oh, how beautiful!
Well, Mussy, good day's work, honey.
Oh, very nice.
Show me, hun.
Isn't
Ding,
that
ding.
beautiful?
There you are.
That thing?
You finished already?
No, we have to send it tomorrow.
Yay, good.
Visa.
When the visa
When
comes.
the visa comes. Mommy, did you show me my passport?
It is, yeah.
When we, yes, what we have is
Mercy?
what we do is we have the permission to go to Australia, and when we go into Australia, they put the visa in here. They put the
And
visa
I'll put
in
some
there.
stamps in.
Not here, here.
Yeah, in there.
So good work, Mussy and David. Yay, good work.
I remember, we getting ready, make sure my parents got heaps of Ethiopian food because I didn't know where we were going to be. So that all the spices, they packed 120 kilos of Ethiopian food, prepare for the unknown. And yeah, we arrived in Perth, and it was cold because it was June and it was rainy, but it was very overwhelming because I didn't realize that I was leaving Ethiopia until I got to Dubai. So when I got to Dubai, I looked around and I couldn't see anybody that looked like me, and that's where it hit me. I was like, oh, I've actually left home. So yeah, that's probably when it hit me that I've left my country and the new journey begins now. And then 11 hours later, rocked up to Perth into a cold weather. There was a lot of people at the airport. It was very overwhelming. Friends and family, they were excited to meet us.
Hi, we're all here for our Habesha night. Aren't we, Mela?
Yes, for Habesha night.
Want to see Habesha clothes all around?
Yeah.
I became more adaptable to Australian culture and knew English very well, but I was actually losing my own culture as well. We no longer were speaking Amharic in the house with my siblings, and so it was a bit of a pull and tug years. When around the age of 18, 17, 16, I had to put my Ethiopianness away because there was no one that I can, check with, or I felt like I had to be an Aussie person. Yes, at the same time, I'll be at the shops. I used to work, I had a job, and in town people would look at me because we were, literally the only 4 African kids in town. And for me, I knew that I was different all the time. There was all the time that, where are you from? That curiosity from people. And that in a way created insecurities, where I was never sure why people are looking at me. But in terms of my culture, I completely decided to just put it aside. It's a hard one to say, whether I've embraced that middle groundness, because certainly during over the years after I left high school, I tried to flip to over the other side where I was, looking for people that like me. And then once I found them, hoping that I will also belong there. And it felt good for a little while. And then not long after that, I started to see my so-called white side. So I think it is a bit of a push and tug place to be. And every day, if I have to be honest, because some days, yes, I enjoy and I love that the fact that I can connect with so many people. I can step in my culture and out of my culture. I can, understand both cultures. So that's a beautiful place to be. But also not having a place to just belong in when you have that need is struggle's real. So it's a tension that I wouldn't change, but also I wouldn't underestimate the struggle. I've asked myself when I was with, the refugee camps where I know that their circumstances much more severe. They still believe, in hope. And in those times I've asked God, why did you pick me? Like, there's so many kids that are orphans and have perhaps, shouldn't compare, but compare worse experiences. But now I'm realizing why not me? And that's why grace is hard to accept, because you have to come to terms with that. But the beauty of why not me is flip it around and go, for whatever reason, I'm picked, but I can contribute something to the world. And that's where the hope is. It's good, God has called me to rewrite not only my story, but other people's stories, because other people need the voice. But so far, it's been a lot of tears. So sharing my stories is part of meeting people that have been on the same journey has been also part of, a healing process. And the other one is just having good people that can rewrite that story for me. It's been essential. It's been a fight for those people that have been on my journey, but it's also contributed to that hope that I have what I could be. So it's a good community, having good community and good people, and certainly having a space where I can voice those experiences and reconnect with my culture and being able to just be me. You see people come and go for years. So it gets a bit hard sometimes, and I remember just going, I would look back at this time where I prayed my heart out to God. And always just looking back to that, it's incredible. It's going, no, He did it. So, yeah. Prayer was that probably it'll be somewhere better, and that it will be much better than where I was. It's the feeling of this has been way too long, but I know it's going to happen. And when it happens, it would be a moment where we will mark it. So it was in a way, it was just like, I would look back at that 13 or 12 years ago that was, crying out to God to do something, to change circumstances. And it will happen. So it was, I would look back and laugh. And it has happened, and I have, and it's amazing. I saw God in everything, and I still continue to see it. I saw Him save my life from the floods, I saw him pull me out of poverty. I saw him heal me from the wounds and still continue. And that takes time. And life is not what God intended it to be. I think the first thing that I've learned is that there is good and a bad. It took a lot of time and pain and wrestling with my faith to come to a place where my God revealed to me what kind of God you are. But this is not what He created to be. This is not that the world that He wanted people to live in. But there's a better hope, and that's what sustains me. Sustains me that your experience is not what life has. There is life after this life, and that's where, Revelation, where everything would be perfect. Like, you would see your families, you would see your loved ones, you would see a friend that I haven't seen, There is a better hope. And that I found that through experiencing God. And that's where my hope rests, not my experiences. I also want to say, don't give up. Like, don't ever give up because you're facing tough stuff. You need to surround yourself with people that can encourage you, that can speak life when you can't. And the fact that God has a plan and a purpose for everyone is something that will never change. I would like to say to my adopted parents, thank you for sacrificing your time, money, resources, and thank you for taking a step of faith in taking 4 kids at once. It has changed my life, and it has changed my siblings' life forever. For me, this whole process of my story means it's brought me to where I'm now, and as hard as it is, as beautiful moments it's been, it's brought me to where I am and who I am today, and for that, I am grateful, essentially, because who would I be if I didn't come through the resilience that I have, and the person that I am today. So I think for family and friends, it's like, yeah, it's brought me here. I'm okay. People will be okay. I'm grateful for my family. They're not perfect, but I'm grateful for their consistency, love and care. And for my siblings, it would mean different to them. Their story and their voice would be different, but for me, I'm going to keep going. Adoption is not easy, and adoption is not one size fits all. Every story has, for me, like, I was adopted at 13 and a half, and I had to struggle through certain things like connecting with my adopted parents and attachment and all those things. Perhaps a kid that's been adopted at 2 might not be struggling with that issue. So I guess for me, like, adoption is complicated. It is not easy. And just have people tell their stories and tell it from their experience point and be open to what might comes of it. But certainly it is not easy. But it is also beautiful. it ties into you get to have a second chance to rewrite that story. As hard as it is, it's also fulfilling. Just because a kid is adopted, it doesn't mean that is the end of their story. They will still have to deal with their past experience, the family dynamic that they came into, and who they're going to be in the future. And it's going to take the adopted parents, to be patient, to be open-minded, even for the community to actually be open to how this kid is going to walk through life. If you want to understand an adoptee or want to come alongside them, comments like, you should be grateful, look at where you are now, imagine, all those things that are just not helpful comments to make. Because for a kid like myself, yes, it's a beautiful thing that happened, but it is also a constant reminder of what we lost. And that should not be undermined. It actually is a helpful comment to make. It's not helpful. You're saying to a kid, you should forget what you lost. And that is not, it's not helpful to their healing process. Perhaps the starting would be acknowledging, what did you lose? What does that mean to you? And that could be a beautiful thing into them seeing what they've gained. When we were in the orphanage, we were together, but yet we were separated. So we did not have the opportunity to walk through things. And when we got adopted as 4, that's when we actually started to learn to be a sibling and actually connect. So, I think that was so important for our healing. My message for adoptees is that just because you started out life differently to others, it does not quite make it. You're not any less wanted or valued. So I would say that you do have community of people that are been through the same experience. It's just a matter of finding them. You can also choose. You have a choice what kind of story that you want moving forward. So I would say it's not going to be easy, choosing to be healthy or to be a positive impact to the world, but it is possible. The role that I want to play in either my community or people that I come across is to be able to call them into something more than their experience, and perhaps focus on the strength that comes out of that, so that they can be a role model to other people, and they can also be a voice to others. But certainly through my life experience, it doesn't have to be what the past is. There's a beautiful future that you got to create with your struggles. And at the end of the day, I think we don't belong anywhere, but we belong everywhere.